Welcome back to TheChowTimePod. It's your host, Red. Got a video today from MHD. Feminist therapist exposes that feminism isn't about equality. Please subscribe down below. I really appreciate that. Let's get that chow. It's chow time.
It's a way of signaling interest, but I think even if the person isn't interested and you're never going to see each other again, it's just a nice gesture. Mm-hmm. But I don't have any rational way of explaining why. And if I were to get rational about it, I would talk myself out of it.
Yes.
Welcome to Manager Highlights Daily. Shout out to the Diary of a CEO for this video. He had an interview with a psychotherapist, Lori Gottlieb, and they were talking about that dating foolishness. It became interesting to me when she mentioned that she is an FEMINIST.
And I think for women, the expectations are, I think it's confused with feminism. So feminism is great. I'm a feminist. But I think that feminism is not this person has to meet all of these criteria that are not really human.
Feminism and dating don't go well together.
Not really.
I want you to keep this in mind because like I always say, women will always tell on themselves. Just let them talk long enough and ask the right questions. The Diary of a CEO is going to ask her the right questions and she's going to expose the truth about feminism. The key word in this video is feel. Lori Gottlieb is going to use this word a lot and I want you to pay attention to the context in which this word is used, okay? Let's talk about it. We men ain't we? Yeah! We men ain't we? Yeah!
Yeah. Well, women want that and they don't want that. So women say they want that and they think that they truly mean it when they say they want that. But in couples therapy, I'll see something like a woman will come in and she'll say that exact thing to her partner. I really want you to open up. I feel like we're not connecting. I want you to be more vulnerable with me. I want you to tell me what's going on inside. And if he does, and let's say he starts crying, tears up, or really starts crying, she inevitably will have this reaction of, I don't feel safe when he doesn't open up to me because I don't feel connected to him, but I don't feel safe when he's that vulnerable with me either because there's just some cultural programming in her around what it's like to be with a man who's crying or a man who is vulnerable. And so I think that's really problematic. And I think that makes it, kind of harder for men to feel like, well, I have a safe space to open up. Like it takes a lot for a man to really feel like, oh, this is something that I want to share. Whereas I think women just feel a lot more free to do that with their partners.
I had to start with this particular clip before we get into the meat and potatoes, because this clip sets the tone for the argument you will make about feminism. This clip highlights the paradoxical nature of women that we've exposed many times on this channel. A woman says and thinks she wants a man who is emotionally available, but when he opens up emotionally, it turns her off because now she feels that her man is weak. Feel. Heterosexual women don't want a girlfriend. Nora Vincent experienced this firsthand, calling women kaleidoscopic. Women go by feel. Now buckle up for this.
Right. So equality doesn't mean that you have exactly the same responsibilities. It means that you feel that there's not a power dynamic. So equality means one person doesn't have more power than the other person.
What?
Pure gold. Feel.
That's what?
Why?
That's the whole dynamic of how women are experiencing it and seeing it? That's crazy.
In the blue hell do we call it equality if it means something else?
What the fuck?
Janice, read.
Equality. The right of different groups of people to have a similar social position and receive the same treatment.
Women in general want nothing to do with the true definition of equality because special treatment is non-existent in equality. That's why feminists advocate equal outcomes. Pay attention.
But that doesn't mean that I do laundry 2.5 days of the week or 3.5 days of the week, and you do laundry 3.5 days of the week. Maybe someone only does their responsibility is the laundry. That doesn't mean that there's a power dynamic. It means the other person, maybe they're always doing the dishes or whatever it is. It doesn't have to be split up in this way. So I think that when people think about having an egalitarian marriage, we're talking about that there's not a power differential, but you still get to choose. Like a woman might say, and I'm being stereotypical here, it might be the man, but often it's the woman who says, you know what, I want to switch to part-time with my work. So that doesn't mean she has less power in the marriage because he makes more now because he's working full-time. It means that they've divided up things differently because that was their choice. That was something that was...
What? That's the logic that they're using when it comes to this? You're doing less work. How is that even more equal now? You decided to half in your work, and I still have to do the exact same amount of work. How is there not a difference in power now? Or what?
Was chosen. It wasn't like you can't work. It was, I would like to do less.
This is where feminism fails because it's always about what's in the best interest of the woman, not the people. The woman has the right to choose if she wants to work full-time, part-time, be a mother or a stay-at-home wife. But for some reason, the man cannot. Pay attention to what happens if you ask the right questions.
Do you tend to see issues unique to relationships when a woman is earning more than a man?
Yeah, I do. I still think this is something that is very primal for us.
Yes.
Around, what it means. I think that women sometimes feel resentful. That's why they want to be with someone. It's funny because a woman can be making a lot of money and she won't even go out with someone who makes the same amount. She has to go out with someone who makes more, which is interesting because she won't necessarily say that. I think it's hard to acknowledge the contradictions.
Men do not have the right to choose if they want to work full-time, part-time, or be a stay-at-home dad. And it's women who have the biggest problem with men having the same rights as them because of how it makes them feel. When a woman out-earns a man, she doesn't feel attraction for him. Check this out.
Why would you downgrade your life to be with a man, okay? You think that you're in your 20s, your 30s, 40s, whatever, you're living your best life, you're traveling all over the place, you're eating at all the restaurants, going to brunches with your girlfriends because you have your own big girl money? You think...
Hey, I just noticed this. She's like wearing like super oversized sweater. Her fingers aren't even out. She's like within her, like she's like a little kid. She's acting like she was a 6-year-old wearing an oversized sweater and putting her hands in a sweater and using her sweaters as extra mitts and stuff. This is where these women's minds are. 6 years old.
That if you're with a man who doesn't have the same big girl money that you have, you think that you're still gonna live that same lifestyle? No, you're gonna downgrade your lifestyle. I can't, I'm trying to be nice.
You need to read the comment section of these videos and see how women applaud this message because it's feel-good Kool-Aid.
Yeah.
Can you make me feel good? Can you make me feel good?
You know who also applauds this message? Buckle up.
Simps.
I think, if you sat people down and asked them the question, you go on a first date with a guy and he asks to split the bill or he doesn't immediately pay. Mm-hmm. Would that be an ick for you? Would that turn you off them?
That would be a huge ick for me. Yes.
Yeah. So even for you, it would be?
Yes. Yes.
If you went on a first date with a guy and he didn't pay?
Yes.
Would you?
Absolutely.
Why?
It's hard to articulate because...
Red flag alert.
The reason why this is a huge red flag is because it's a therapist. A therapist with an feminist mindset. You have to be careful with marriage counseling and stuff like that. Because if your therapist is a feminist, she's going to take the woman's side and tell you all of this crap about equality, not meaning equal responsibility, but whatever your woman feels. This system is crooked. These lawyers, these judges, these therapists, they are all in the same scheme. That's why making Johnny Depp versus Amber Heard public was masterful. It's must-study material. Pure gold. Now, why does this strong and independent feminist therapist get the ick when a man doesn't pay on the first date?
Why?
It's hard to articulate because, and this is what people, will say, all women will say of all ages. I think for my age, we grew up with that was the expectation. I think for younger generations, maybe it's not the expectation, but I think a lot of people still like it or want it. There's
Why don't you use any goddamn logic to it? But other than it's what's traditional and people like it.
something about it that says, I really valued our time together. I care. I'm interested. It's a way of signaling interest. But I think even if the person isn't interested and you're never going to see each other again, it's just a nice gesture. But I don't have any rational way of explaining why.
I don't care. You just have to pay. I like you or I dislike you. You're paying.
And if I were to get rational about it, I would talk myself out of it.
Yes.
This is pure gold. Woo! You see? Just like how equality is based on a feeling, a man paying for the first date is based on the same premise. That's why it doesn't matter if a woman is a therapist or a lawyer or a psychologist like Dr. Ramen Noodles or Sadia Khan. When it comes to this part of the conversation, they all suck. Dr. Ramen Noodles and Sadia Khan both get owned on this topic because a woman is a woman first. A PhD doesn't change her nature. That's why it's not about what she says she wants or thinks she wants. It's about what she responds to. This therapist responds like most women do. She gets the ick, but she can't give you a rational explanation why a man should pay for dates without making a fool of herself. And you heard what she said, right? When she grew up, it was the expectation. So this part of the patriarchy, this expectation of the patriarchy is not a problem for women. That's what these feminists do. They pick and choose what makes them feel good under the guise of equality.
I think that's a very honest answer. And then the counter sort of rebuttal to that means, okay, so if men are expected to pay, then we're going to need more money.
Yes. Yes, and it gets very expensive to date.
Yeah.
It does. I mean, people will say, "Oh, you can go on a hike. It doesn't cost anything.
Bullshit.
You can do a picnic. You can, watch a movie. There are all kinds of things you can do." But the reality is, it's kind of like I remember that old Chris Rock joke. In the first 3 months of a relationship, you're not you. You're the ambassador of you. So you want to impress somebody. You're trying to show interest in somebody. But I do think there's that really primal need for safety that is gender-based, that we don't like to talk about or acknowledge, but that I think women really, if somebody doesn't pay on a first date, if a guy doesn't pay on a first date, I think a lot of women don't feel safe.
Safe from what? Because I'm not paying, I'm some predator now? What? The logic.
This is why feminism is poison, because they don't want to acknowledge the biological differences between men and women, because that would wipe out most, if not all, of their arguments about equality. It's not about women feeling safe in modern society. In this full interview, she explains that the pendulum has swung from relationships being purely practical to now being entirely romantic. Paying for a date is no longer about practicality. It's about romantic validation. These women want to feel special, to have their egos boosted. That's why you see all these TikTok videos of women crying in the car, because this romantic
And putting on
experience
makeup.
cannot be replicated without a man. Now listen to this story.
Yeah.
Everyone I know is that if they went on a date with a man, so in a heterosexual relationship, and the man either asked to split the bill or suggested that you might pay, this person's not going to get a second date.
Of course not. No. Unless it was the woman who said, "Oh no, let me split that with you." But if it was his decision, and he said, "Oh, let's split this," or he put it in the middle, no.
Red flag alert.
I in therapy, the young woman came to me recently and she said she went out with this guy and they went to a cafe and they got coffees. And he asked her to split it, coffee. And she said, and she was having so much fun on the date until the bill came. And she was shocked. And she thought, okay, well, it was very personal to her. At first she thought, he must really, really have had a horrible time with me to want to not pay for my $5 coffee. And then he asked her out again. And she said to me, I don't understand this at all. So he was interested in me and he didn't pay for my coffee. And she did not go out with him again. So these are the kinds of signals that it very much is emblematic of something. Who pays on that first date?
Do you agree with that decision that she made?
100%.
Red flag alert.
And I mean, I didn't say that as her therapist. It's really about
she is one of the shittiest therapists possible.
Understanding it for her, but I do agree with that decision, and I think it's because there's something like a half note off about a person who doesn't even see that it's a $5 coffee and you're interested in this person. And she wasn't making any moves.
Why are you guys so interested in the money aspect of things? Women are just want us to pay for everything. It always dwindles down to money. He could be a great guy. He could be a wonderful guy. He can match everything. But when it comes down to the money aspect, it's always a problem.
To pay. She was just sitting there for a very long time. And she said, this is the way she told the story, was that the person came around and a couple times and said, are you ready? And the guy said, oh no, we're not ready yet. And then at a certain point he said to her, oh, do you want to put your credit card down, right? To her. And so she just said, I could never go out with somebody like that, even though they had a really good time before that.
Today, a woman wrote a comment that sums this all up. Dennis, read.
We are the prize. We are the table. So we don't have to do anything but be ourselves when we agree to go on a date with you. If you want to pay 50-50, do it. If you don't want to spend any money, don't. No one's forcing you. Put yourself first in anything, but be careful. If your true self is not impressive to the women you like, it's a sign you have more personal development to do. Or you can just stay as you are and date women who like you as you are even if you don't really like them. Choices and consequences, friends. The world is full of them.
This is the attitude most women have today.
Yep.
The reason why we get partners to begin with is to upgrade our lifestyles, okay? And simply being with a woman upgrades a man's lifestyle, okay?
Right, because every single woman I have ever dated, and my ex-wife, has had a better lifestyle and a better life with me than they were by themselves. So, yes, you guys aren't living this extravagant life that you all seem to think you are. Why? Because the men are the ones that are taking you onto all these extravagant things.
But it's politically incorrect to say so, especially for a therapist. It doesn't seem logical for a woman to be considered a prize solely for her existence. It's never been about equality. It's all about supremacy. But at the end of the day, my wallet, my choice.
Damn right.
That's why men make the decision if a woman is worthy, if the juice is worth the squeeze. Feminism liberated men.
So what is the role of a man?
It's really unclear.
Manosphere, we working. Protect yourself at all times.
Shout out to MHD. You guys heard him? Protect yourself at all times. This is why I put the message out there all the time in my videos. Why? Because I learned it from this fucking channel. This channel has taught me so much. Get to it. Please like and subscribe down below. I really appreciate it. And I'll catch you guys next time. Ciao.